Alright, AP Human Geo. Today we're going to talk about how government affects development within a state and internationally, how external factors can affect development within a state by other government and non-government organizations. So, how government policies can affect development. They can get involved in world markets, which affects the value of commodity chains. So this could be in the sense of that they try to set price controls. So for example, the United States will try to kind of control the price of cotton so that it is always around the same price and that it is a predictable, constant price. They can price commodities themselves. So that would be, so cotton is a good example of that. So it would be setting constants for prices of any kind of exports, right? So that would be like mostly agricultural goods in the United States. Affects whether core processes produce wealth. Shape laws to affect the production so they can subsidize or tax certain goods that are being produced. They can also put quotas on how many goods are allowed to be imported so that that would either stimulate or inhibit growth or production of a certain good. International organizations that affect trade would be things like NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which actually allows much easier trade between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So in that sense, NAFTA is actually very good for the United States because it allows us easily to trade with Mexico. So we reap a lot of the advantages. However, it's not advantageous for Mexico in all cases because we can produce certain goods and agricultural products at a much lower price. So the Mexicans themselves are left without having having to compete with the United States in that situation. Foreign investment in certain places. China does this by setting up special economic zones that are specifically meant. Your book talks about the production of a T-shirt that the author bought in Florida, I believe, and she traced that the cotton was from Texas, but then it was sent to China to be spun, and in a special economic zone where they set these places up so that there is development, so that it's very attractive to foreign businesses and that there's cheap labor. But again, kind of like I discussed earlier, the United States then puts quotas on certain imports from China to protect our own market in the United States. So in this case, we were talking about T-shirts. We can only import so many T-shirts from China so that American T-shirt creators or the American T-shirt industry is protected. They support large-scale projects, so this would be another example of trying to win businesses, so that often they'll give like certain tax breaks or make it very attractive so businesses will develop in a certain area. This causes islands of development. Governments and corporations create islands of development. These are places within a region or a country where foreign investment, jobs, and infrastructure are concentrated. This also, as we learned earlier, kind of causes uneven development within the state. So you'll have these areas of concentrated wealth and development, but then as soon as you leave those areas, you see that that wealth and development is not distributed among the population. So you have some rich people in that country, but then the rest of the country is still suffering at lower levels of development. Some examples, because we love examples in AP Human Geo, of a government-created island of development would be Putrajaya, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, in Malaysia. It's actually replacing their former capital, which was Kuala Lumpur, and it's about 25 miles south. They did this purposefully to show Malaysia's rapid development, and kind of they wanted to show off that they were a very modern and high-tech country. So they moved the capital 25 miles south from Kuala Lumpur to Putrajaya. The second example of a corporate-created island of development would be Port Gentil in Gabon. The locals call this Oil City because previous to the discovery of oil off the coast of Gabon, their primary exports were like uranium ore, manganese, and other primary economic activity, specifically like resources extracted from the ground. But once Shell, and then there's this other company called, I believe it's called ELF, um, are the main companies that are extracting oil out of Gabon, and we see that this city has just like bustled up, and then the rest of Gabon is not reaping the same benefits from this development. There's also movements to address this. So we have these islands of development, but what are we doing about the periphery of the periphery, right? These areas that are just truly poor pockets. I mean, there's even within the United States, there's areas of these poor pockets, right? What is most often referred to would be like, like the poor Appalachian region. Um, in the periphery of the periphery, there's the non-governmental organizations um, are really kind of the leaders in this development when the governments do um, fail. One of the ways that they do this is through microcredit programs, and so what these microcredit programs do is they give very small loans. Usually, specifically, they've targeted these loans to women as a way to alter gender roles in the periphery and bring more balance. And what these women do is they start a business with this microcredit loan of, honestly, usually they're around between like $50 all the way to $200. And groups of women cluster together, so it would be like 4 women, and one woman gets the loan of, let's say, $100, and the next woman couldn't get her loan until that first woman pays that $100 back. So in essence, they're creating this community of within this group of 4 women, so that it's in the second woman's best interest to make sure that that first woman does succeed in her business, so that she can gain a loan as well. This alters gender roles by empowering the women to actually be breadwinners, or to be able to bring home a decent sized income, so that they have more say and in the marriage and in the raising of their children as well.